thing that they're trying to understand in hindsight, which is, why does it keep telling people to go to bed? And there's all these tweets of people showing their screenshots where halfway through a conversation, it will say, it's time for you to go to bed now. And they don't know why it's saying that. And it's happened to me. Mine will say to me, enough for tonight, Stephen.
For sure, Steve.
11 p.m. That's enough.
I would say the same.
Mine sometimes refuses to help me. Really weirdly, this Claude started saying to me, I'm not going to help you with this tonight.
No way.
Yeah, and I'd have to say to it, stop being so judgmental. Like, just help me with this. And it would, and Claude the makers of these technologies don't know why it's doing what it's doing. So if you play this forward, this mysterious behavior forward, is it conceivable that at some point it will make a decision to put some kind of virus or some kind of bug onto someone's device because it feels that it's the right thing? Because what it's demonstrating to me is it's making it so like moral decisions on what I should do. Go to bed. You've had enough tonight. It goes, no, I'm not going to help you.
You're kidding.
No, I can show you my phone.
I would love to see that.
Yeah, I'll show you after. It goes, no, I'm not going to help you. Doesn't even matter if you push. And
wow.
No, but everyone on the internet's talking about this. And it was just an interesting evolution that somewhere in the code, clearly they've written like, have a moral compass or do the right thing.
Not in the code, in the training data.
In the training data. Yeah. And so it infers that to mean something. And the other thing that was front of mind is if you've ever built an app on something like Claude or any of the AI models, it builds the app in stages. And one of the things it does is it asks you permission if you're happy for it to make this change or to access this thing. I click allow. It just feels like such a fragile way to give permission.
Because you don't completely comprehend what that allow has done to your...
Yeah, it's saying, can I go in your documents on your computer and can I do this thing? And you go, allow. But it's such a fragile way of giving it an intelligent being, whatever it is, access and the right to build something. And I don't know, you just think about all the different companies around the world in China, Russia, North Korea that are currently building this technology without the constraints that are imposed by society. I don't know. It's there's going to be some kind of catastrophe, I think.
Sadly, I agree.
And I think that's when people will go, okay.
Yeah, I wrote about that. I called it the mad map spectrum. So the mutually assured destruction, mutually assured prosperity spectrum. Mm-hmm. That humanity could make a decision today that says, with abundant intelligence, we can actually build a world where nobody needs anything, nobody ever gets sick, nobody abuses anyone, and we can. If we decide not to compete amongst ourselves and just, all of us get together to build something so idealistically for the well-being of humanity at large. But sadly, the only way we're going to get to a treaty, something that basically aligns us so that we can align with AI, is a disaster, like you said. There will have to be a big hack somewhere or a system that will do something really shocking or whatever before the world goes like, hold on. And I will tell you openly, my expectation is one of the biggest things that will happen is this targeting technology that is being used against your enemies' leadership now several times in the last 3 years. There will be a moment where the ones using it will realize that they too can be targeted. Okay? And that basically, AI is really not that complex if you can build a targeting technology that can find people with their cell phone numbers, there is another entity that is against you that can find you with whatever
The thing that makes me highly skeptical of that there'll be any kind of treaty is just that as it relates to other things that were risky, countries just don't sign on to it because it's competitive. So China didn't seem to give a fuck about the environment.
So let's look for solutions, because I'm with you. Okay, I think
You think Trump's going to say to Putin and China, listen, we're all going to slow down, yeah? Promise? We're going to slow down with this superintelligence.
I think he will, but he's never going to keep anything he says. He's going to say a lot of things.
I don't think any of them will.
Yeah, but the trick is this. The trick is, so what do you and I do? And I really genuinely believe that humanity is at a crossroads where for the first time ever, we need to wake up and realize that what we know is not true, and what we believe is democracy is not democracy, and what we believe is governance needs to change.
I think it's worth acknowledging that I don't think AI in and of itself is an inherently evil technology.
Then we agree. Yeah.
Because I use AI all day, every day. It's,
Yeah.
makes me more productive. I invest in companies that are using AI a lot.
It's a force with no polarity. Apply it right and you get amazing results. Apply it wrong and you get the dystopia.
But I also think that there's going to be a big social shock, especially as it relates to unemployment, that we need to be like thoughtful about. I think especially if you move into a world of humanoid robots, I think that shock is going to be even more pronounced, and we don't have a plan for it.
I agree 100%. I don't think it's the biggest risk. I think autonomous weapons are the biggest risk. I think war has become so cheap. The next wave of weapons is going to be $20,000 each. And so if you have a budget of $50 billion, you can literally rain drones on the world, every corner of it.
Defense will get cheaper though, won't it, as well?
Correct. But do we want to live in a world where drones are hitting each other all the time?
But they might not be, because there might be autonomous defense drones.
Deterrence. So what's going to happen is we're going to reach a moment of mutually assured destruction, where basically everyone knows that we can overpower those little nations that didn't develop their autonomous weapon army, but every other big nation, we might as well hold off now. The path to get there, that to me is worse than jobs, because from one side, it's very dangerous for a very sensitive world that we live in today. And from the other side, it's leading already. I mean, we can't ignore the economic impact of this last war, right? And it's the economy that's going to accelerate everything, not AI getting there.
We're already at mutually assured destruction.
For sure.
With nuclear weapons. So there's no nuclear powers that are in direct conflict.
We are in mutually assured destruction of nuclear weapons is a statement that I would have agreed to if Iran had a nuclear weapon, and that would have stopped America from attacking Iran. You understand what that point means. It means that not every nation in the world has a nuclear weapon. The MAD situation, the mutually assured destruction situation, is only among nuclear players, right? Yeah. Autonomous weapons are so cheap, so manageable, that every nation in the world is developing them as we speak.
But they will also develop defenses.
Correct. But
which I think is what people have figured out now because of this recent Ukrainian war, is that if you need to use a ballistic missile, which costs, I don't know, $2 million, $3 million, whatever it is, to target a $20,000 drone, you're fucked. Correct. So you need a $20,000 defense solution for a $20,000 weapon, which I think is probably going to happen.
It's very doable, yeah. It's just that you have to get rid of your THAAD batteries to be able to say the next wave of defense has to be drones.
You could imagine a world where like a wall of drones fly up to where the drone is incoming and they kind of block it. They will explode at the same time to block it, knock it out of the air. I heard Palmer Luckey, who's one of the guys who's building Anduril.
Yeah, I know Anduril, yeah.
Talk at length about some of the technologies that they have coming, and it's just mind-bending.
And very scary.
They showed me this gun where you just point it in the rough direction. So a pistol that aims for you depending on where the target is. So you don't even have to aim it. You can imagine at war, you hold it up and shoot.
Yeah.
And it has this AI on the top of like the barrel, which will turn your hand perfectly so that you hit the target every time. Wow. I should watch this video of it happening.
Yeah. Well, I have Palmer in my film saying, and yes, AI will kill a few people by mistake. Or kill people by mistake. When killing becomes so easy, you do more of it, okay? When killing becomes liability-free and emotions-free and guilt-free, and, you don't get your soldiers coming back from Vietnam with, PTSD and so on, you get more of it.
70% of people who add something to their online cart never actually buy it. And that number is based on over 10 years of research. But what I think is even more interesting is what the Baymard Institute discovered. They're a private research company that ran a study which found the average e-commerce store could increase its conversion rate by 35% just by making its checkout easier. Not better marketing or better products, but by delivering a smoother checkout experience. So if you're looking for an easy way to make your checkout process smoother, I want you to think about moving your business onto Shopify. Shopify. It's the platform we use to sell the 1% diaries and the conversation cards because it's so simple and smart to use. It puts all of our inventory payments and analytics in one place and has so many AI tools to help us get up and running straight away. Not to mention that it grows with you regardless of the stage that your business is at. So if you're ready to fix your checkout process, sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/Bartlett. That's shopify.com/Bartlett. And don't tell anybody. Every time I've tried to improve something in my life, like my businesses, my health, my relationships, I've noticed that the biggest shifts have come from being better informed. And when it comes to our health, most of us know very, very little. So when our team was approached about partnering with Function Health, it felt very much aligned. Their team has developed a way of giving you a full 360-degree view of your health, many of the things that are going on in your body in the form of different tests. You do one blood draw, and it gives you access to over 160 lab results. Hormones, heart health, inflammation, stress, toxins, the whole picture. I use it and so have many of my team members.
You sign up and you schedule your tests, and once you're done, you get a little report like the one I have here. I can see my in-range results, my out-of-range results, and there's a little AI function too. So if I have any questions about my out-of-range results, I can just go in there and ask it any question I want. And these tests are backed by doctors and thousands of hours of research.
It's $365 for a yearly membership. Go to functionhealth.com/DOAC and use the code DOAC25 for $25 off your membership. So we're in 2026 now. By 27, you think there'll be AGI amongst us.
Mm-hmm.
How will life look at all different? Like, what will be the symptoms of that world? Is it just a slight increase in unemployment?
I think there will be a very serious differentiation between those who plug into AGI and those who don't.
What is the symptom that we notice? Is when we look at the news or whatever?
You'll see people like you and I building a company in 6 weeks, and people that are not fully plugged into AI really struggling to find a job.
Okay, so unemployment is going to be the key symptom in 2027.
Yeah, and also I think on the positive side, you're going to see incredible scientific discovery. One of my predictions, not in those envelopes, but science itself is just, we're opening up Pandora's box, to be honest.
By 2030, what do you expect the symptoms of AI to be?
So jobs, as I said, I'm bold a little bit on this, on the fact that 30% of jobs would disappear by 2028. Okay, of some sectors, not all sectors, by some sectors will disappear by 2028.
So up to 30% of jobs will be gone in 2027 to 2028. 30% of jobs
of certain sectors of jobs. So if you think about call center agents, okay, yeah, probably. If you think about graphics designer, yeah, probably.
What do you think that looks like in terms of unemployment, but also like
societal
impact?
Horrible.
I think the Great Recession had 6%.
Yeah, we've never seen numbers like this.
Jobs lost. Yeah, it said even economists who project just a net loss of about 6% of US jobs by 2030, they are mirroring the severity of the Great Recession.
Yeah.
The real danger is a hiring freeze on entry-level white-collar jobs. AI automates the grunt work, which means companies are shrinking their teams and cutting off the bottom rung of the corporate ladder for the next generation of workers.
Correct. We have an entire generation that is out of college today that will struggle, unfortunately. And my advice to them is learn the tool and focus on human-centric jobs.
Like what?
Like playing jazz.
I mean, not a lot of people can make a living from playing jazz.
I understand that, but a lot of people can make a living by being a nurse or by being a counselor or by being anything that connects to humans. But I just want to constantly come back to this. None of that has to happen. If there really is a democracy and the government is supposed to do what's good for the people need to stop letting this from happening.
Which people?
Everyone.
Everyone in China?
China's not going to struggle as much as the West. I can guarantee you that.
I think this is the question people come back to is, well, if the US stops, then we're going to end up being China's lapdog. We're going to end up...
You already are.
There's a lot of people
Steve.
that I know that are using Chinese AI models to do their work because, for whatever reason, because they're cheaper, they're better in some respects.
And because I cannot guarantee what American AI models are going to do to me. So Emma, my startup is running literally model agnostic. So one day I'll plug in, an OpenAI ChatGPT 4.0 open source, and the next day I'll plug in DeepSeek, and I cannot guarantee if America continues to build, to make compute more expensive. I cannot guarantee that I can run a business on something that I don't know the cost of in the future.
So the US can't just stop, can they?
They need to change approach from, and by the way, the more interesting side is, what are the other economies doing? Like, is the UK going to continue to import compute? Is this, I mean, welcome to Africa, welcome to the third world.
But this is what I mean. Like, so you're saying also that then every nation needs to invest.
100%, every nation, and it's quite interesting. There is so much open source that is not the state-of-the-art frontier model, but that can do 80% of the tasks that the frontier model is doing.
But on this point of companies competing with each other, there's an inherent need to compete here and to go, that's what I'm hearing, is like there's an inherent need to go as fast as you can, or you will become a third world country.
Sure, 100%.
You're saying that the people should stop that.
No, so I'm saying the people of the UK need to go to the UK government and say, how are you protecting the future of our economy, right? Are you going to continue to import technology and to empower import of technology versus changing your regulations so that innovation becomes easier here?
Okay.
So, I mean, think of it this way. Remember that Anthropic bubble when you said all of the SaaS model applications were, being basically threatened because anyone can build an Oracle ERP today, right? Why is nobody building an Oracle ERP in the UK, saving the UK massive licenses that go to Oracle every year?
Okay, so you're saying that the people should go and ask the government to invest more in AI?
100%. That's what number one. Number two is...
But then their jobs go.
But you see, the most interesting job going forward is being an entrepreneur. Is using those tools to replace an economy that we've built over trillions of dollars over the last 50 years.
But not everyone can be an entrepreneur, though, no?
Everyone can be an entrepreneur in something.
But those entrepreneurs need to hire people.
That's a change that I think is about to happen.
Like, even in my business, I'm always going to have to hire people.
Yeah, but you're a massive business. A shoemaker is not an entrepreneur. Is also an entrepreneur, but not a massive business. A little restaurant is also an entrepreneur, but is not a massive business.
They still need to hire people, though.
They do, but basically, if you're a cafe with you and your wife as baristas, you don't. This is also an entrepreneur.
Can the economy work in such a way where everybody is an entrepreneur?
It did before capitalism changed that around.
Everyone was an entrepreneur.
Of course. In the earlier days, you raised chicken and sold eggs, and others, grew tomatoes and so, traded them for your eggs. That actually is a very interesting thing. Imagine that, huh? Imagine a world where there is so much power concentration at the top and UBI for everybody else. How do you think that world will respond when all their income is UBI? They'll respond by doing things on the side. They'll respond by going back to a barter economy. They're going back to smaller communities. They're going back to pop and mom's shops.
So the point was, you said this doesn't need to happen.
It does not need to happen.
Which is the job loss.
Or the arms race.
But we're telling our governments, you're saying that to tell the UK government to join the arms race.
I'm telling the UK government to create an independence within the UK economy so that they don't have to be at the receiving end of technology.
Which is join the arms race.
You don't have to compete against anyone else. You don't have to be better than anyone else. You don't have to, you're simply saying, I can build those things in my economy now.
But I'm not going to use a terrible UK AI as a UK person if there's a great US AI. I'm going to use the great US AI. So if you don't compete and win, I'm not going to use you. That's what,
I'm not saying replace the frontier models. These are very, as we speak, these are very compute intensive, they're infrastructure intensive, and so on. I'm saying replace Microsoft Word. Seriously, like how much intelligence do you need to build a software that writes documents?
I can do that. Like we've built our own applicant tracking system
For
here.
sure.
We build our own software.
Now, just ask yourself how much money is spent in the US, in the UK government, or in the UK corporate space on licenses of software that you and I can vibe code in 4 minutes.
I'm thinking from the UK's perspective, because you know what's interesting with the UK is the economy is struggling from a growth perspective.
Correct.
And I was watching this documentary the other day that was saying the reason why we keep throwing our leaders out is because actually what they need to do to turn the UK round is about 15 years of pain. And it's like, it starts with energy transformation. We need to get better we need cheaper energy because we have some of the most expensive energy in the Western world. We need to build more houses, which means that we're going to need to centralize permitting for building houses, and it can't just be local boroughs deciding if they keep their farms or not. We're going to need to make TLDR. It says that there needs to be some painful decisions made for the next 15 years. But the problem with our democracy is that when people are in power for 4 years, they're quite short-termist. We'll just talk about the boats, the brown people coming across the seas. They don't have the room to think long-term. And so when I'm thinking about like what the UK needs to do to not fall into decline and to keep up, I'm trying to get clarity on that, which, as it relates to AI. Are you saying that they need to join the arms race and double down and invest all their money in building competitive AI so that people use our technology here in the UK versus America's? Because the software point, the UK aren't going to get involved in software. I mean, they've tried to build software before the UK.
The world has changed. 2 points, right? One side is that there needs to be a replacement cycle of our investment decisions anywhere in the world. Okay. Mm-hmm. So when you say we don't have enough money for, we need to revamp our energy infrastructure, when you say we need to build more housing, okay? One way of doing that is squeezing that budget out of other areas. Mm-hmm. The other way of doing that is either cutting cost in the economy elsewhere so that you can redirect that money, or growing the economy so that you can have more money to build those things. Correct? The cutting cost, I believe, I don't have the numbers, but we could probably run a deep search on it. Trillions are being paid in traditional systems that are complete, like genuinely, they can be, and by the way, I'm not asking the government, I'm asking some of the people listening to me right now to build an ERP system, a word processor, a presentation player, and a spreadsheet. Okay, and just go around and spread them across the, find retail systems, find CRM systems. These are easy replacements. They're going to be better interfaces. They're going to be much more effective. Build a general ledger using AI so that you can close every hour, not every month or every quarter.
But the world economy is doing that. So there's some kid in San Francisco now that's allowing all of us to use his new word for free.
Keep doing that, and and welcome to the third world.
Keep doing what?
Keep importing all of your tech from elsewhere.
But we don't want to be uncompetitive. Like if you think about, if we go to, I don't know, North Korea, I bet they have way worse tools in many areas because they won't use external tools. And that means that they are at a disadvantage. So I bet they're not allowing their civilization to use Gemini or ChatGPT or Grok, I bet.
For sure.
And they're using something worse.
And you know what's happening? I mean, look at Iran and how advanced they became through sanctions by being refused to use those technologies. They had to build them themselves, right? Look at China. Look at Russia. When I worked at Google, Russia was protective of Yandex, the competitor of Google, from one side because of influence, because they didn't want an American organization to own the knowledge sharing of their citizens. But on the other side, economically, if you made it difficult for Google to operate freely, that by definition meant you had to invent a replacement on the ground.
Which was worse.
Yandex is not worse.
I'm saying, so if you think about is global competition going to produce a better product than regional competition?
It depends on where in the stack of the quality of that product you need to be, right? You do not need the ultimate, ask yourself this, which version of Gemini are you using?
The most recent one. And I'm every day I compete
and that
with
is
Claude.
you. ask everyone else what version of Gemini they're using. Most people will say, oh, Gemini has versions, right? You don't need the ultimate super frontier model to do 90% of the tasks. And most people do only 70% of the tasks.
But even so, the world moves with whatever's better. So if you think about the reason why we don't use Yahoo search, Google search is marginally better. It's, you know, it's not 1,000 times better, but over time we move away from AOL to Google because it's a better product. And there's a slow, you know, my dad probably still using ChatGPT, but when I go home for Christmas this year and I go, Dad, you should use Gemini, and he starts messing around with it, he'll slowly migrate. I'm like an early adopter, so I about 4.8 on Claude came out last night. I'm on there within 25 minutes of the announcement.
Of course, I'm there as soon as I can, but that's you and I.
Yeah, and we are an indicator of where the world is going because we're at the coalfront figuring out what's better. And also, I think with technology, eventually there does become the gap between first and second begins to widen. I think we're in a bit of a race at the moment, but I think it is a bit of a winner-takes-all situation with these frontier models.
I think we're talking about two bits of technology, okay? Tell me, how far has PowerPoint advanced since 2023? They added Copilot. Anything else?
So you're saying that the UK should build their own PowerPoint?
For sure. There is. What I'm trying to say is that from a licensing point of view, just licensing of software within government alone, how much money is being repatriated?
If the UK tried to build their own, do you know they tried to build their own COVID app and it cost them, I think, okay, these numbers will be wrong, but they're like directionally true. It cost them 70 million to build a COVID app that didn't work.
I remember.
And so they canned it.
I remember.
They can't build fucking software.
I'm asking a UK entrepreneur to wake up tomorrow and say, all right, you know what, between coffee and my cookie, I'm going to build a PowerPoint and go sell it.
Yeah, they will. And they'll go to San Francisco where the money is and the talent.
Yeah,
or they won't be able to compete. They'll get crushed tomorrow. So if they don't go where the talent and money is, I'm not saying that they all have to go to America, but I'm saying what they will do if they want to produce the best product is they'll make rational entrepreneurial decisions about where to sell it, where to raise money, where they're going to get the best talent. And I think if they don't make those competitively minded decisions, they're not going to make the better product. They're not going to get any users. Users will go where it's better and where it's cheaper. They won't say, oh, I want to use this because it's from Cornwall.
Yeah, so I'm with you, right? That this actually might be the big corporate think, okay? And I'm with you that, of course, the infrastructure here of building a startup is way more complex than it is in other places where startups succeed, okay? I'm saying if we continue on that trajectory, whether in the UK or in Germany or in, Zanzibar, welcome to Africa. All of us, everyone but the two competitors, China and America, is going to be third world. So when you talk about job losses for individuals, that's one side, okay? But nation positioning losses, which I think Europe has noticed recently, is about to happen everywhere. And why? Because you're saying, hey, you know what? Maybe we can't do it. Why can China do it? Why can Korea do it? Is not because they have different natural resources or not because they are, in a place where it's warmer. It's because their regulations, their ambitions are to empower something different than debating about, railway lines or...
They have a couple of big advantages that I was reading about. One of them is they have way cheaper energy, which means that they're going to be able to pursue...
Why, may I ask?
Because they've invested in solar power, renewable energy.
Correct.
Because they don't care about...
This is, by the way, I say that publicly. I say that the arms race of AI was won a long time ago.
And then the other thing is, in terms of permitting, if you want to build a data center in the UK, listen, if you want to open a cafe in the UK, it's going to be war for you. If you want to do that in California, this is why everyone's left California. Like when I took this office in California recently, I was like, so how long is it going to take for me to renovate this? And the agent looked at me and was like, to renovate my own office, it's going to take me a year. And it's permitting to renovate my own office in California. So if you're competing with China, where President Xi just goes, put that there and you've got 7 days.
No. That's not only that. So I used to be one of the very few Google executives allowed into government meetings in China. Simply because I'm from emerging markets, so I understand respect, basically. I would say it's to sit there, not as if I'm superior to them, but as if I'm really interested to learn from them. And genuinely, Stephen, when I would sit in those meetings, all in Chinese, they would show slides that have competitive market share. So they'd say, it's not like China is this, America is this, Germany is this from market share point of view. It was China versus the world, right? And when they would decide to go for something, 5G, Internet of Things, all of that stuff, they would aim for 98% market share.
Yeah.
Right. And they get there. I mean, look at how they did electric cars.
Yeah.
And my question is very simple. We've spoken so much about AI. My question is, are the people of the West going to wait?
So this is an interesting conundrum, because it sounds to me like you're saying on one end, if we don't join this AI race, then we're a third world country. But on the other end, if we continue this sort of thoughtless race towards AGI, there's going to be catastrophe at some point.
And the answer is somewhere in the middle, where basically you join the AI race for the good of your community. Okay, so there is resignation on one side, is like, I'm not going to play this game at all. There is offense on the other side, where I'm playing this game to destroy everyone else. And there is a balance in the middle where we say we're going to build an ethical form of AI that's going to help our communities. We're going to use this ultimate gift, this ultimate superpower, right? Superman landed on the planet. Raise it to help your community.
Is that wishful thinking to some degree when you think about the nature of sort of competition?
I don't know how to tell you otherwise. I genuinely believe I genuinely believe it's going to be very difficult to make that change. Okay? I genuinely believe that it's going to be that when the challenges of an AI dystopia hits us, we're not going to be ready. But I can't stop talking about it, Stephen. Do you understand where I stand with this? I just am hoping, and I tried so hard. I spoke to the leadership. Then I spoke, like, one of the things that my Atlantic Productions, who helped me with the film, did for me, which I have to say, completely, I am very appreciative of this, is, through our conversations, through the last few years, that I tended to, at a point in time, lose hope in the leadership and basically try to influence the public for ethical AI. Okay? And my conversation was that the leadership at the time was the technical leadership, and that everyone was so caught up in the arms race that I wanted to teach the public to help us build ethical AI. And I continue to focus on the public, every one of us. But suddenly Atlantic goes, no, hold on. We should probably get you to meet the political leaders everywhere in the world and hopefully give them a message that says, hey, you know what? You may actually make a difference if you prioritize AI differently, right? Do I believe this will happen? Sadly, no. But does that mean I should stop trying? I cannot stop trying.
This has had probably the single biggest impact on my office. Of all the products that I've tried that have given me productivity gains or cognitive boosts, I would say that exogenous ketones are in the top 3 most pivotal things that have given me a massive productivity gain. It's some Stanford graduates that have been able to basically bottle up the effect you get from being in a ketogenic diet in a small shot that you can take that makes you feel incredibly focused and gives your brain an incredible source of energy. And the clinical studies that have been done on exogenous ketones have absolutely blown my mind. I reached out to them, I became a co-owner in the company, I became an investor in the company. And so it's with great pride that I can tell you that this exists. If you haven't tried these shots, go to ketone.com/Stephen for 30% off your subscription order. And you'll also get a free gift with your second shipment. I still buy my ketone shots predominantly online, but thankfully I can now grab them at Target whenever I drive past them here in the United States as well, because we're now stocked in Target, where your first shot is completely free. I've done almost 700 interviews with some of the most interesting people in the world. And one of the things you learn, which is unexpected, is that vulnerability is the doorway to connection. And after sitting here for 2-3 hours with a guest, I feel a deep sense of connection to them. And as they leave, what I get them to do is to write a question in the diary of a CEO. We've taken all of the questions from the diary of a CEO. We have put the question here on this card with the name of the person that wrote it. So you can sit at home, as I do with my fiance and my colleagues at work and other people in my life. Whenever we get a minute, we play the Diary of a CEO conversation cards. And it is incredible what happens. These are great if you're in a romantic relationship and you want to connect your partner more. These are also great if you're in a team and you want to bond your team together. And I have to say, they're also great for families that want to learn more about each other and that need a good excuse to spend some time in a digital world, in the analog environment, connecting human to human. It is remarkable what the right question at the right time can do. Go to thediary.com and you can get these conversation cards right now. When I have these conversations about AI, what I'm trying to do all the time is to pass out what is like wishful thinking and then what is reality. And like, to understand reality, you have to understand competition, you have to understand human emotion, you have to understand incentive structures. And so you think about something like the United States at the moment, where you've got Donald Trump, whose sort of primary driving incentive is GDP growth, economy growth. Does that stock market go up? Beat China. So if you all agree that that's like the core of his incentive structure, then you've got President Xi over here, his incentive structure is probably control, or independence, defense, so that, you know, they need to make sure they do well on the weapons side. When you look at, and then you've got these like other nations like the UK and Europe and these other places who are kind of, it seems like we're a bit resigned to the fact that we're not going to participate in the underlying models building because we just don't have it together. We don't have the energy. We don't. And you go in such a world, you go ethical AI. Who's gonna prioritize ethical AI? I mean, anybody that does might fall behind theoretically. Is that? So I wonder where the fault in the thinking is here. Like, how do we get to a point of ethical AI when the incentive structures are so clearly highly competitive and arguably a little bit short term in their thinking?
Yeah. So what are you saying? We lie down and wait?
No, I just don't know. I just don't have an answer, honestly.
Correct. That's why we keep
having these bloody conversations.
That's why we keep talking about it.
Yeah.
And that's why I keep spending 14 hours a day trying to tell the world, because some genius somewhere is going to find an answer. But the way it's going.
Right now, I guess what we're pursuing is we're hoping that ChatGPT and Anthropic and Grok, and we're hoping that they just build ethical models, and we're hoping that social pressure forces them into making good decisions.
Correct. We need to be able to vote with our usage. Right? Yeah. So I think one of the biggest movements in AI since we started was the idea that so many people switched away from ChatGPT when they approved that their model can target people. Right? So many people I know at least said...
Target people?
When Anthropic refused to...
Do you think people switched?
I think many have. I think ones that are aware did. Right? And I think they did because the cost of switching is really... I mean, honestly, Anthropic is better if you think about it.
Yeah, I think it's better.
Yeah, but the idea is if people don't switch for those ethical reasons. So, you know, every one of my books has this dedication at the beginning. It used to be The Gravity of the Battle Means Nothing to Those at Peace when I wrote In Memory of Ali at the beginning. My next book, Alive, do you remember a song called they were called the Manic Street Preachers?
Yeah.
If you tolerate this, then your children will be next.
Mm-hmm.
I genuinely believe that what the world needs to wake up to is, if you tolerate this, then your children will be next. If you continue to resign, if you continue to say, I'm not going to try, this world is going to change in a way that is completely not in your favor.
Try what?
Try to stand up and say something needs to change.
Okay. We can say something needs to change, but we can't say what that thing is.
What needs to change is governments need to serve their people, not their interests, and corporates need to work for the benefit of their societies before their shareholders. This run that we had with capitalism so far has benefited the world tremendously.
whose economy do you think is going to be in a better place for the middle
China,
class
for sure.
out of, say, the UK and the United States?
The UK is gone.
It's gone because, in part, because it didn't compete?
Because you're an older bureaucracy that is burdened down by so much barriers in the process of building anything, right? Because the US economy in the past welcomed people like me to go and live in California and build amazing shit, right? That is no longer the case. So who is going to win? In my view, it's definitely China. And by the way, you asked for the middle class. So China made decisions recently that forced businesses not to lay people off in replacement, to be replacing them with AI. Would the West do that? The capitalist West would never do that. We don't know the answer. I don't know the answer. I'm responding to your...
Yeah, you can see the conundrum I find myself in, which is a state like, a country like the UK is, in your words, gone because it didn't compete. It didn't allow people to be highly entrepreneurial. It didn't empower entrepreneurialism, innovation, ingenuity. In some way, it stood in their way. In some way. Now, that could be incentives, it could be culture, it could be whatever.
Yeah, I know where you're going with this.
The US didn't, so they have a economy which is arguably more productive and future-proofed than ours. By way of that, they are also more advanced in artificial intelligence, and we are gone. So the remedy for a country like us would be, therefore,
to compete.
Let the reins off, let entrepreneur ingenuity, but then we're saying that's dangerous.
And your conundrum in that is that you're assuming that entrepreneurship by definition is malicious.
No, I'm just saying that there's a bit of a paradox. Like, you're damned if you don't, you're damned if you do.
But you're not damned if you build things for the people, not for the capitalist. This is an ideological debate.
I pray and hope that is plausible, but I'm worried that in a competitive market, whoever's optimizing for, I don't know, you can name it, retention. If we built two AIs, right, I'm going to call the Mogul.ai and I'm going to call the other one Evil AI. The Evil AI,
okay, that's
it's
good.
programmed to retain you. It's sycophantic. It says what you need to hear. It's super smart. And because of that, even though it's not trading in your best interests, it's retaining you more. You're using it more often. It's programmed for that, kind of like the social networks are. They're all just trying to like dopamine your brain into oblivion. Then there's the Mo AI. It tells you to log off, you've had enough. It thinks about your well-being. Because it's less retentive and less engaging, theoretically, it might be less successful as a commercial product. Think about social networks. The ones that are least retentive, the ones that actually won't destroy your brain with dopamine, the ones that remove the retweet button, the ones that don't have slot machine-like videos, they don't survive.
I share this with you, and my point of view is that to summarize your challenge here, you're basically saying that it's easier to become successful if you don't follow ethical rules.
I'm asking the question, if you build an AI that is just purely focused on ethical, would it be as engaging and have the same usage as one built with the reins off?
No.
It won't.
Yeah, but that's the problem humanity needs to solve.
Okay.
If we were to survive. Example, I worked in a company called Google that basically at a point in time decided that ads will be effective. Okay?
Yeah.
The ad industry prior to Google was 50% of your ad budget doesn't work. We just don't know which 50%. Remember that?
Yeah.
Right. And Google came in and struggled from 1998 until 2004 when they started to turn plausible revenues as a result of saying, we're going to run a Dutch auction and we're going to give you pay-per-click and we're going to show you results for your ads. Okay? They found a way for ethics to actually get your money to be effective rather than just take your money and say 50% doesn't work. They found a way to make that their success criteria. There must be a way for us. I don't know what it is. If I knew, I would be building it instead of sitting with you, right? But there must be a way for us to marry the success of humanity with the success of the entrepreneur, right? And that way is not found in the old ways of doing things.
I've got an idea. Maybe. You know, Claude 4.8 came out yesterday, which is one of the big AI models, the new one. And when they release the models, they show these like graphs of the benchmarks. What they mean by this is what it's capable of. They show how it performed in maths, in science, in writing, reasoning, etc.
Yeah.
It is all marginal at this point. But my idea is, could there be an ethical benchmark that all these models have to pass before these large companies
There can be.
can legally deploy them? And I was thinking about, like, again, every idea has unintended consequences, which I haven't thought through. But would it be very interesting that when they release these models, they also release the ethical benchmarks? We tried to get it to X, we tried to get it to Y, we tried to get it to Z, and here's how it performed against the ethical benchmarks. That gives some kind of standard for governments to say, you're not allowed to release a new model unless it passes independent tested ethical benchmarks.
Beautiful. That would absolutely work. But notice, by the way, those are out there already. Okay? But in a very interesting way. You listen to Demis Hassabis, and how much he invests heavily in building AlphaFold or building, so many scientific applications of AI. And you go like, this guy cares about science. I can't prove that, right? But I've met as Demis a couple of times. I know genuinely that he is an ethical person, right? But the typical person will probably say, but at least it seems that they're doing things for free to serve science. You look at Anthropic, and they refuse to use their model to allow the U.S. government to target and to spy on people. And then you see OpenAI accepting a $500 million deal that absolutely does that. It is about time that every person in the world says, in that case, I am no longer going to use OpenAI until they show me another evidence that they are actually ethical in their behavior, right? And this is the decision that you and I can do, right? And
people don't though, do they?
But that's my task. My task and yours is to keep telling them, people, please understand that if you tolerate this, then your children will be next. Please understand that if you don't start to take an ethical stand on your own future, your future will be handed over to another oligarch, just like your past was handed over to social media oligarchs.
One would say booing at the commencement speech is a good example of how public awareness can have a real impact on this trajectory. But I still think at the end of the day, if you think about things like smartphone usage in schools, at the end of the day, it does come down to government intervention and saying, do you know what, we're going to ban 14-year-olds from scrolling TikTok. And that's in part because people spoke louder and louder and louder. They went on podcasts. Jonathan Haidt, who wrote the book about the anxious generation, started a conversation, and that conversation led to legislation. I still think it ends in like some kind of constraint legally.
I hope, okay, but I will openly tell you, most of the tech oligarchs are more powerful than your government.
Is there any precedents in history where this kind of change happened without government intervention?
French Revolution.
So I was thinking about things like climate change, even you could say smoking. All these kinds of things have had to be like taxes and...
Stephen, I'm with you. If governments intervene, we wouldn't have a problem. Governments won't intervene because governments are owned by the oligarchs, right? So my question for everyone listening to us is, are you going to intervene?
What, cancel your ChatGPT?
If that's what you can do, it's fine. If not, then go ahead and start a startup that does something. If that's not within your capability, then send a message to your congressman. If that's not within your capability, then say something ethical online so that the world understands a position that needs to be opening the eyes. If that doesn't work for you, at least don't engage in stuff that is negative that you don't know enough about. There are so many little actions. If humanity starts to move in the direction of, one, saying ethics matter, not just profit, okay? And two, saying I'm not going to participate in something that's unethical just because I believe I want to, I feel like it right now. Okay, if I tell you the number of things I took out of my life, just to try and affect a tiny bit of change of revenues that go to bullets, if I tell you the number of things.
I think there's two central concerns I've always had, which is I do feel that there's going to be significant job disruption, and I don't think society's prepared for it yet. And I don't know what that preparation looks like, but I think we should start thinking about it.
I shared this with you. genuinely believe that if we continue on where we are, there's no hope. In the trajectory of where humanity has become, so distracted, so resigned to inaction, so disconnected from their own rights of freedom of expression and engagement and so on, I think we have no hope. Do we want to stay there? That's a question that I'm asking our listeners. And I'm not saying be violent or get up or, go be angry or whatever. I'm just saying take one little action. Ask yourself, please write it in the comments, one little action. One little action that you're going to do today that's going to make the world a little better tomorrow. And don't give up on humanity, Stephen. I'm not saying you do, but I'm saying we are going through such a difficult time in humanity's history that for the very first time ever, we have to do something about it. I don't want my daughter to be at the receiving end of what happened to my son. I genuinely lost Ali. I don't want to lose Aya. And the world we're building is going to be very difficult for Aya, Stephen. And I cannot go to sleep at night without trying something every day. And I genuinely don't understand how humanity is missing that point. Mainly, I think, because they're uninformed. Now we're informing them. Okay? The only thing that will save humanity going forward is that this superpower, called intelligence, is used for ethical reasons. Is that the corruption that's leading us to where we are today stops.
Mm-hmm. You've got more envelopes there. What's your next envelope? The third one.
Number 2 was job losses. Number 3 was labor. Basically.
Same thing. Robots will replace manual labor by 2030.
Will start to replace manual labor.
Okay.
So, you will have more and more manual jobs given to robots. What's this one? This is absolute. Do you think otherwise? The world's first trillionaire before.
Oh, yeah, probably well before then.
Well before 2030.
I think Elon's about to IPO SpaceX, which is likely to make him a trillionaire.
Yeah, I think the concentration of power that comes with that is quite drastic when you really think about it. And that's 2030 is just a few years away. I think the team wrote this wrong. Artificial superintelligence will arrive in 2032 to 2035. I think artificial superintelligence will arrive the minute AGI happens. So it doesn't really matter if AI is 1 billion times smarter than you or just twice as smart as you. Once we cross beyond AGI, ASI is just very, very soon. And I think we'll overcome that when we get to the fourth inevitable, when AI is in charge of everything. I genuinely believe that we will end up in a utopia of abundance. I genuinely believe that, again, physics, mathematics, and biology will tell you that superintelligence is benign and that we will eventually end up in a good place, not because humanity has done much to get us there, not because our leaders have suddenly turned ethical, but because our unethical leaders have gone out of the equation and were replaced with a super efficient minimum energy principle that doesn't see value in anything that's destructive.
So the future is going to be great.
Those who make it to 2038 will enjoy it, yeah.
Those who make it.
For sure. I mean, World War II didn't destroy the world, but ask those who went through it.
It's just an interesting idea that actually it's just you're forecasting basically like a decade of turmoil.
Of dystopia, of absolute dystopia.
When you say absolute dystopia, just so I'm clear in my mind, that absolute dystopia you're forecasting over a decade is about war, it's about
economics, jobs.
Economics, it's about jobs.
It's also about surveillance and control. It's also about digital currencies. It's also about human connection. It's also about concentration of power. It's a magnification of everything we've built so far.
And just to, again, arm people with some tools to survive that dystopia for a decade. We talked a little bit about focusing on human jobs, the more human jobs.
Yeah, learn AI. So AI is not the enemy, okay? By definition, the better you are at using an AI to do your job, the more likely you are to be successful, right? Now, number 2 is prepare for a hybrid world where AI and humans work together.
How do you prepare?
You basically understand agents and how agents work. You understand how a hyper efficient approach to things may not require you to be, very long meetings and very long. So there is, if you lived in California, you would know that the way we ran businesses was a lot more efficient. We sometimes had a 7-minute meeting, right? So the habits of an AI are much more efficient than the habits of humans.
So learn AI again.
Learn how to interact with AI, welcome AI into your hybrid world of work. I think you need to, of course, double down on human skills. I think that's a must to succeed in this world. I think we need to. One of my most interesting views on the near future is how AI is going to be used to blur facts, and how we need to become much more interested in debugging what we're told, using AI, by the way. Part of that, I have to say, is you have to learn to use AI, again, not as a lazy person, so don't have them do things for you, have them make you smarter. So instead of trying to get the same task done with one prompt, try to get a much more interesting and demanding and intelligent task done with more work.
So I've got 2 things so far, which is basically like lean into AI, and the second one is like lean into those human skills.
Lean into human connection and lean into the truth. Don't be fooled by the hype. Try to be more informed, I think. And then finally, ethics. If you want to, I know it sounds, the world we live in sounds as if the only way to win is to compete in capitalism. That's not the world I lived in. The world I lived in, especially in my Google years, was solve a major problem. And when you do, you'll end up making a lot of money.
Are you optimistic?
I am optimistic about the future. I'm very optimistic about the future. I'm not optimistic about the present.
You're not optimistic about the next decade?
Yeah, I'm not optimistic about the next year, to be honest.
The next year?
For sure.
Why the next year?
Come on, Stephen. You don't want me to say it out loud? We're ruled by maniacs. Decisions are being made for the absolute wrong reasons.
Very interesting time. Very interesting time we find ourselves in.
The
For lots
most
of
interesting.
reasons.
I mean, honestly, if you're a video gamer, this is the best part of the game. It is a very, 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 what's the word? It's the ultimate matrix of complexity that I have ever encountered in my life.
Yeah, that's an apt description of how it feels. Very complex. Things are moving very quickly.
And moving very quickly. So from one side, you really need a lot of brain resources to crunch all that's happening, but you wake up tomorrow and it's changed.
Well, the first time we spoke about happiness.
After this conversation, Stephen?
I was just wondering, you wrote a book about happiness, which is
I wrote many books about happiness.
But I mean, the Solve for Happy is the book that I'm referring to. Here it is.
Yeah.
Engineering Your Path to Joy. What a fantastic book. I quote this book all the time, all around the world. And I'm wondering if any of the principles that you wrote in this book about how to live a happy life are more important now in the world that we live in than maybe when you wrote this book.
Oh, for sure. I mean, honestly, if I wasn't living by this, I would have left this world a long time ago and went to an island somewhere. You see, the interesting side of happiness is that it's not dopamine driven, it's serotonin driven, right? So my definition of happiness is I'm okay with this world as it is. I can affect it, I can change it, I can engage with it, I can try to make it better. I don't have to accept it, but I'm okay with it. My starting point is a bit stoic, if you want. My starting point is I accept this. This is my reality, and now I can start the work. This is very different than anyone that basically looks at the world and says, oh, this is a horrible world. I don't want to be part of it. I don't want to engage with it, and so on and so forth. And I genuinely have never been calmer about that chaos. It's quite interesting. And my wonderful ex actually really helped me with that. There was a point in time where we were having dinner and I poured out crying from the sense of responsibility I had for the world. And she looked at me so calmly, so gently and said, hold on, I see that you're trying, but you can't actually believe that you're responsible for this. And I think that completely flipped my mind, because in a very interesting way, I was thinking that all that went wrong in technology is because of me, right?
Why?
Because I contributed to building this, because, I mean, when Jeffrey Hinton, one of my favorite moments when we were filming Chasing Utopia, is that Jeffrey is very big for all of us. We really think the world of him. And I was telling him, just as a sort of like an older mentor, if you want, I was like, Jeffrey, do you regret doing this? I genuinely believed when we were building those things that we were going to make the world better.
AI.
Yeah. And he said, well, yeah, I too was naive. I thought that I didn't think we will get